onto the replacements, and on the Ulster bench is the fearsome sight of Stephen Ferris, back after 16 months out. For Saracens, maybe slightly less potent than normal, with Ali Hargreaves, George Cruz and Will Fraser injured. Owen Sheriff covers the second row. Well, it's in the knockout stages, when Saracens have been faced with Europe's heaviest hitters, that they have stumbled. In the quarters 2 years ago, Clermont came to Watford and gave Saracens a lesson in several crucial departments. And in the semis last season, Toulon arrived in London and Johnny Wilkinson shattered Saracens' hopes. Toulon dominated in the key areas. Now the North Londoners face an Ulster side who are former champions and who were in a Heineken final as recently as 2 years ago. A box-ticking win tonight here at the howling home of Ulster may truly signal Saracens' arrival as a big-time player in the European arena.
Well, Ravenhill has always been a wonderful arena. Now it's a stadium Ulster should be very proud of. And then looking at this raw crowd, the passion and commitment here from the crowd alone, let alone the players, will be a source of inspiration for both sides. And so often, Saracens are more than happy to be the pantomime villains who spoil the party of Ulster. This is going to be a sensational game of rugby.
Well, Saracens did do a little bit of staggering in their pool, losing home and away to the heavyweight European tonnage of Toulouse, put away so easily earlier today by Munster. And Saracens were also pushed hard by Connacht in Galway. But here they are, dominant in the English Premiership, and now determined to show that they are maturing as a European force.
Well, Steve Borthwick dismantled alongside his teammates the Ulster line-out in the last encounter back at Twickenham 12 months ago, and he wants the platform to allow Owen Farrell, who's developed his game enormously in the back of the confidence he'd have gained on the Lions tour to Australia, and also the sort of fearless type of rugby that England playing under Stuart Lancaster as well. He's brought in a dimension to his game, a far more attacking game, which brings in the likes of David Strettle and Chris Ashton. And Farrell's kicking game around that field, based on a very solid platform, with Saracens nearly always produce, particularly from the line-out, really try and cause problems to Ulster.
Well, the question is, can Ulster utilise the significant background noise that is fresh-faced Ravenhill as a white-top wave to carry them forward into a semi-final with home country advantage? Ulster losing finalists in 2012. And of course it was Saracens who put Ulster out in the last 8 last year. The acrid whiff of revenge is in this Belfast air.
You can feel the energy sat up here on the stands. This is the game that Ulster have been waiting for, and you get a feeling that this is the opposition Ulster have been waiting for as well. Johan Muller needs to produce a good quality line-up ball to allow the likes of Ruampina around the field to build, and Chris Henry's battle against Jacques Burger. Chris Henry with an outstanding Six Nations for Ireland. His battle against Jacques Burger, as Wally talked about in the pre-match, we talked that area in the collision area, that breakdown area, so important to allow the likes of Ruampina with the variety of his kicking game around the field, and Paddy Jackson as well, put pressure on the Saracens back three.
Well, the referee is from France, Jérôme Garcez. Well, last April Saracens played with ruthless efficiency to beat Ulster in the quarters. Sarries outplayed Ulster in contact and at the breakdown, and it was all backed up by a ferocious kick chase. As one of the Irish papers put it in their big match post-mortem, Ulster thundered down dark alleys, were mugged, squeezed and spat out. Tonight the men in white must make sure that such a grisly fate does not befall them again. And instantly it's Mako Vunipola who carries the one family wrecking ball in unison with the fit again, Billy Vunipola. How will his ankle stand up tonight? Up goes Paddy Jackson, a little bit of a fumble, but Ulster managed to retain possession through Nick Williams with his new shorn haircut. Here is Jared Payne, and you suspect, although that one goes straight into touch, that they may pepper young Chris Ashton in that corner, Jan.
You can expect a lot of those kicks on the back three, and the two wings in particular from Ulster. Connaught Found that very beneficial, putting pressure, putting high kicks, high hanging kicks on Chris Ashton. Strettle, so expect a lot of that from Ulster today, but it has to be far more accurate than that. You feel the energy in this crowd, but that alone won't win the game, because Saracens won't mind that sort of intimidation factor from the crowd, but it has to be a source of inspiration for Ulster.
Well, as Mark Anscombe said this week, this is execution time. And Steve Borthwick, he is such a wonderful line-out general, takes that ball. Ulster trying to respond through them all, but then look what Saracens have done. Such power and such strength. They've come off back-to-back bonus point victories in the Premiership. 5 consecutive wins. They're in form. And there's the first carry of Billy Vunipola. You feel he will be an essential component tonight, and they've won the first penalty.
This game is going to be very physical, and it's that physical contest. Sides really have to try and win, trying to impose themselves in the opposition. We've seen Vunipola then cut in. Again, an attempt at a driving line out here. Ball well won by Borthwick. Again, good initially, good shove back from Ulster, but he saw they concede a 45-yard drive from the Cardiff Blues last week. They won't want that to happen to them tonight, not against this Saracens pack. But Vunipola has been brought in, and Saracens will be delighted to have him on the field. Those good 2 or 3 yards he makes after the initial contact, so important. The good quality of ball in the back on that, and that forces the penalty from Rory Best, who's always good at the breakdown, but that time a little over-eager.
Owen Farrell, top point scorer in the Heineken Cup in Saracens history. He's now well past Glenn Jackson, 282. And here is a man who generally does have ice in the mind. Oh, and that is so un-Farrell-like. And that just adds a little bit more energy to this Ulster side, because they will feel they have got away with one there.
You see the response you had from the crowd here, predominantly Ulster supporters. I think 2,500 Saracen supporters there, but they're dominated by Ulster. And they gained an awful lot of satisfaction from that miss from Owen Farrell.
That ball took a long journey through the air from the restart. Here comes Billy Vunipola again. Superb against France in the Six Nations. Ironically, injured against Ireland. John Afoa gets his hands to the ball. Well swept up by the captain, Steve Borthwick, retiring at the end of the season. He wants to finish with a Heineken Cup or a Premiership. Of course, Saracens in good shape in the Premiership at the moment. Top of the English League by quite some distance. Here's Nick Williams. Has been struggling a little bit to find form of late, and Ulster need him to be in top form tonight against the threat of Vunipola. In comes Alex Good, challenged by Jared Payne. What a shuddering clash that was in mid-air, and Alex Good does not look good straight away, and you can see the annoyance on the faces and in the body language there of the Saracens players.
Well, first things first, you've got to hope that Alex Good is okay, because that was a clattering fall.
Eric, tu veux revoir le plaquage, s'il te plaît? Le contact en l'air. Oui.
Well, I don't like the look of this. They're straight away calling for a stretcher, I think. Alex Good flat on his back with his arms prostrate. Let's see just how bad it was. He was in the air when he was hit hard by Jared Payne. There's no question about that. Both feet off the ground.
And that was a horrific fall from Alex Good.
Oui. Tu veux voir les images?
C'est quoi ta décision? T'as vu?
Le blanc ne monte pas au ballon, le joueur est en l'air, plaquage dangereux du 15 blanc.
Yeah, that was reckless.
Le joueur noir,
Payne, you have to have it as a
il
duty
retombe
of
sur quelle
care
partie du corps?
with those sort of kicks. A high hanging kick, plenty of air time. But you got to understand, you got to have an awareness when you're not getting the ball first, and when the opposite number is got to the ball, he's in the air. You have to have an awareness around him and what's likely to happen in that collision.
Je ne les vois pas ici.
Well, Joe Schmidt talks about emotional lucidity on the big occasions like this. You just wonder. Well, Jared Payne, he was always looking at the ball initially, but you wonder if emotionally he just slightly lost the run of himself there in his determination to get to the ball first and catching good instead.
As soon as you don't get to the ball first, you're in difficulty. Both eyes on the ball.
Faut qu'on voit l'intention du joueur blanc aussi.
But he also, as the chaser, you've got to have an awareness as well.
Jérôme, j'ai une décision.
Oui.
Le joueur noir en l'air retombe sur le côté.
Screen in the corner of the stadium here, so Jerome Garces will have had
Le 15 blanc
several
ne monte jamais au ballon.
clear looks
Il est
at
en
that
retard.
himself across the ground. He's about 50
Oui.
metres away from that screen. In fact, there's screens
Je
in
pense que la première impression
both
est la
ends of the ground, so
bonne.
he will have had an excellent opportunity to make a synopsis there.
And Jared Payne,
Pourquoi on ne revoit pas les
obviously
images, nous?
concerned for his obs in number. And also concerned on what the decision of the referee, TMO, will be. Eric Ozan.
Je demande.
Eric, il faut bien analyser, parce que nous on voit rien. Il faut bien analyser l'intention du joueur blanc.
Well, when these two met in last year's quarter at Twickenham, it was Owen Farrell who made all the difference, taking 17 points. The tries from Fraser and Ashton. It was an overwhelming performance by Saracens, but this was underwhelming from Jared Payne. It's a pretty horrific collision.
I think he's going to be lucky to stay on the field, personally, because he's not jumping either.
Ouais.
He'd have a better chance if he was jumping in the air.
D'abord le côté
And the referee is staring
et après la tête touche le sol.
closely and with great concentration on that screen in the corner.
At best,
tête
that's
rentre en
clumsy.
contact avec le
Worst,
sol.
is reckless and irresponsible, that is.
L'épaule en premier. We want to see which. Il te le renvoie, il te le renvoie.
You can see Alex Good there. I think he initially comes down on the shoulder, but then his head, you can see there, slams
D'abord
into the
l'épaule et
turf.
ensuite la
And
tête.
it's a pretty firm surface here at Ravenhill.
See from his reactions there,
Jérôme,
that's
Oui.
not good.
Well, the referee's obviously taking his
Tu l'as
time
pu
because he
voir?
wants to make
Ouais,
sure
mais
the
je veux
medical
revoir.
staff go through their
Tu veux revoir
attempted
quoi?
routine with Alex
On a
Good,
le
who
temps,
is
on a le temps de
now
son joueur
tu,
blessé.
tu veux revoir quoi, la
stretcher.
totale?
Ouais.
Vitesse réelle ou rapide? Ou normale? Ou
There's no
ralenti?
doubt about it, with 4 minutes gone.
Non, normal avec le ralenti.
Saracens are going to lose their international fullback.
Qu'est-ce que t'en penses, Marc?
The other question
Ça
is
repasse.
what is
Ça
going to
repasse.
happen to the extremely important and influential Ulster fullback.
You just feel as if the energy's gone out over the stadium as well. And the stand
Le joueur est
this
en l'air.
is quite a horrific fall. That is good.
Le haut du corps retombe, je vais être obligé.
Ils vont t'envoyer le plan large.
Well, he is watching the ball as he comes in there, Jared Payne, and yet again Jerome Garces has his eyes riveted on the big screen in the corner of this Ravenhill Stadium.
I think it would look far better for Jonathan if he also jumped in the air, but he didn't.
Jérôme, tu veux en voir d'autres?
Non, c'est bon.
He also knows in the context of this game, Jerome Garces, that he's got a very, very big call
La
to
caméra
make.
est sur toi.
The likely replacement for Saracens would be Chris Wiles, who can play across the back three and in midfield as well too. Chris Wiles, who's just come back from Atlanta in Georgia, playing for the USA in a World Cup qualifier against Uruguay. So having qualified for the World Cup for the USA, he's had a couple of games under his belt, Chris Wiles, so he'll be in good shape to come on. Well, now Garces makes the slow walk across this Ravenhill pitch, and he's going to speak, I think, initially to Johan Muller. The captain walks up, and of course with him is Payne.
The player in the air.
But his eyes is
No,
on the ball the whole
the player
time.
is in the air. It's dangerous tackle. No. It's on the air. The player, the contact with the ground is the head.
Yes, but
Red card. It's a red card for Jared Payne, as Alex Good is carried away on a stretcher parallel to Payne. And after 4 minutes of this Heineken Cup quarter-final, Ulster, catastrophically for them, are down to 14 men. But Alex Good's injury looks like a very serious one indeed. You can see David Humphreys there, Johnny Bell and Mark Anscombe, their reaction to that. But our first thoughts must be with the Saracens fullback.
Certainly, we all hope he makes a full recovery from that. But as soon as you take someone out in the air, there's always the danger that a red card is going to be coming. And yes, he did have his eyes on the ball, and there was nothing malicious and nothing intentional in it at all. But you also got to be aware of what's happening around you.
Well, there is Chris Wiles on as expected for Alex Good, and the line out taken by Moritz Botha. But it's going to be a long and rocky path now for Ulster if they get past this Saracen side as they put together the drive. And it's Richard Wigglesworth now who looks for big Billy Vunipola, all 21.5 stones of him, and that's Billy Vunipola slimmed down these days since he left Wasps for Saracens. Here's Wigglesworth to brother of Billy, Mako Vunipola, roughly the same size. They really are big beasts. Here is Farrell. Farrell, he's knocked the ball forward. Across comes Paddy Jackson under pressure from Dave Strettle, but he will come back for the scrummage.
The challenge now, 75 minutes playing against 14 men. Playing with 14 men against 15 is an immense one. It was always going to be a battle of two very evenly matched sides. Now, huge advantage of an extra man with Saracens.
Well, Ulster, Shane Logan, the chief executive there at the back, and Mark Anscombe, Johnny Bell alongside him. They've spent a lot of money, spent a lot of time redeveloping this stadium for nights like this. And of course, not the start they required. And how do they come back from this? How do they compete against this extremely powerful Saracen side with just 14 men? It's a huge question. Have they any answers? Pick up by Williams. Here is Ruan Pienaar. His role becomes even more important now. Taken by Chris Wiles. Punches the ball down that near touchline and makes some good yardage from the angle that he had, the American.
He kept the ball quite low, he punched it. Well, it's now important that there's an element of composure from both sides here as well. In control of those emotions, and obviously it was always going to be raw, the game from the outset. And now
Rory Best finds Nick Williams, who comes through, but Billy Vunipola, he's quick on his feet as well, it seems. Not just a great ball carrier, here comes Ulster's ball carrier. The super tanker himself, Nick Williams. Now it's John Afoa, they call him Animal, that's his nickname, and a pretty animalistic carry. And Ruan Pienaar is down injured. Things could get worse for Ulster. They've just given away a penalty as well. And remember, Pienaar coming into this game with a shoulder injury to the AC joint. I was told before kickoff it didn't need an injection, but as you know, Jan, you've suffered shoulder injuries. You do not recover quickly from injuries like that.
No, an AC joint. The misfortune of popping both my AC joints and a couple of shoulders as well. That is not something you recover from quickly. Actually, ball full to the front, the pressure on from Vunipola. And it's not a huge hit either, actually. There wasn't a big collision there. Probably just landed awkwardly as he stretched out. He looks in some discomfort. At the moment, you question whether he's 100% fit. It is a huge game, and you try and get your best players out on the field.
You always thought it was a risk. He was only injured a few weeks ago against the Scarlets. It looked bad when he went down in that game. taken by Moritz Boda. Pienaar stays on the pitch, but for how long? That's the question. Here's the drive again by Saracens. Surely they can take advantage of 15 against 14 here. James Johnson, another monster in this Saracens pack, carries the ball, the tight head. Deep inside, the Ulster 22 now. That's Chris Henry doing some good work, managing to steal the ball away, and Dan Toohey in possession. Pienaar waits. Paddy Jackson, the Irish international, behind him, doesn't catch all of that kick, but the bounce helps him. But they're away quickly are Saracens, through straddle to Chris Wiles. The tackle by Johan Muller. Rory Best is now down getting treatment. Here is Owen Farrell, fires it out to Sculprit, such a tremendous runner. Rory Best is up and hobbling. Here is Pienaar, so a man sent off, and two absolutely critical members of the Ulster personnel are now injured. Here is Chris Wiles. He launches one high. They like their kick and chase. They've usually got great line speed. And there is Duncan Taylor. Wonderful chase of the ball by Taylor. And away goes Tommy Bowe, and Tommy Bowe has released himself from the tackle. Will it bounce for Pienaar? And down in the ball goes Wigglesworth, and now it's Mako Vunipola who sweeps up for Saracens. Wigglesworth to Farrell. Here is Brad Barrett. And now it's Duncan Taylor, looks for Chris Ashton. 7 tries in the Heineken Cup this season. Luke Marshall makes a good covering tackle for Ulster, and the ball is in touch.
Well, this stadium is reaching boiling point at this moment in time. But he saw evidence there of what Tommy Bowe can offer Ulster. An ability to pick those really acute angles, pick the ball off the scrum half, pick up and go, identifies, he scans, he looks for an opportunity, takes on Jack Berger, beats him. Unfortunate with a kick, just bounce it off. But this is where the problems then arise for Ulster. Turnover ball, and again there's opportunities to counter-attack with the extra man. But this is what Tommy Bowe brings, and now he's fit for the first time in a while. His groin's recovered, and he's always going to pose a threat in those sort of areas.
Well, Rory Best receiving the treatment there. That ankle doesn't look too good, and now he's been heavily taped up across that limb. And a good bit of work there. Good sleight of hand by Chris Henry to flip the ball away.
It's okay.
What else to have to be really careful? A turnover ball, well, that extra man, there's wide open spaces out there.
Well, Duncan Taylor is the latest player to leave the field. Alex Good is off injured, of course. Charlie Hodgson is on now, and Jared Payne has been sent off, a red card in the 4th minute. So it's been a first 10 minutes of this game with an incredibly powerful narrative, that's for sure. No points on the board, but an awful lot happening elsewhere.
So much. This stadium is reaching boiling point at this moment in time. The players have to be aware of that as well. Be conscious of that aspect. You need composure, you need to control these emotions as well.
So Sculpritz to Steve Borthwick, and it's Billy Vunipola, and now Brad Barrett hammering his way forward into that Ulster midfield, and then Mako Vunipola is chopped low. Here is Sculpritz, and I don't think the referee liked the way that chop tackle took place. Now you've got to wrap the arms around the ball carrier. You certainly can't fly in with a shoulder without wrapping the arms when you go low.
Knock on by
Vunipola lost the ball in contact. That's Nick Williams going in low. Again, and that's Brad Barrett taking the ball up. Again, Saracens seem to have far more ball carriers these days. You've got the likes of Vunipola and Barrett taking that ball up.
Well, I'm surprised the referee did not have a look at that, because he went in really low around the bootlaces, and it seemed to be a shoulder, not the arms. But it is just a scrummage, and it's gone Ulster's way. So Ruan Pienaar. Scrum goes down on the Ulster loosehead side. Tom Court.
We don't need your help. We don't need
Saracens just back from their 3-day bonding trip to New York. And I suppose that makes the Wolfpack of Wall Street. But remember, 4 minutes into this game, Ulster reduced to 14 men when Jared Payne was sent off, and now leaving the field as well is Rory Best. Could it go any more badly for this Ulster side?
The only way it could go anyway, so considering the players they've lost, the quality of the players they lost. Rory Best, such a leader on the field, his work around the breakdown as well, his relationship with Johan Muller in the line-out.
So the crowd are doing their best to lift this Ulster side. Rob Herring is on the pitch now, the Cape Town-born replacement hooker. But Rory Best is such a leader of men, the most capped Ireland hooker of all time. And of course he's also so important around the breakdown area as well. He works there as an extra flanker almost at times. So they've now lost that part of their armoury too.
And hope that Ruan Pienaar is able to stay in the field, because that really would be a hammer blow.
Pienaar to Jackson, up comes Owen Farrell, trying to put some pressure on the Ulster right half. Back there goes Chris Ashton. Cross comes Nick Williams. Pick up and pass, well played by Williams to Ruan Pienaar. Here is Strettle. 4 tries for him in the Heineken Cup this season, including a hat-trick against Connacht in round 6. Pienaar to Jackson, again good pressure by Strettle. And all the way downfield to Wigglesworth. He chops one skyward as well. In comes Andrew Trimble. What a superb Six Nations he had for Ireland. 3 tries he scored. Now Luke Marshall. Back goes Chris Ashton. And that ball is going to run all the way into the dead ball area. Chris Ashton docks it down.
That's when you hope you're a 14, when you're chasing back, that ball takes a bounce. But Pienaar looks in some discomfort. And that long kick went downfield. He found great difficulty in passing the ball. It was a great cover for him, a great catch. But that pass, he looks in some discomfort. He's not playing 100% at this moment in time. And that'll be a huge concern. Having lost Jared Payne, having lost Best as well, and Ruan Pienaar's won 3 man of the match in the tournament to date. That's how important he is.
Well, I'll be staggered if Ruan Pienaar lasts too much longer. He can hardly pass the ball off that left hand. Not so bad off the right hand. It's Tom Court who takes it in. And Ruan Pienaar awaits, and Ulster get the penalty. Saracens penalised at the breakdown, and there is a tumultuous roar around Ravenhill as maybe they get their first attempt at a pot shot at those Saracens posts.
Well, huge commitment from this Ulster side. They're feeding off the energy coming from the crowd as well. They know how much pressure they're under. They're down to 14 men this early in the game. It's going to take Herculean effort from this Ulster side, but they're going to feed off this crowd. But they chase in, they're harrying as well. They're giving everything they got out there. They've waited a long time for this game here at the new Ravenhill Stadium. They're not going to give up without a fight.
Ruan Pienaar, you mentioned his Man of the Match awards, and he was Man of the Match against Leicester in round 6 of the pool. All the points on that evening at Welford Road, including a try. Well, Pienaar may not be terribly mobile from the waist up, but he can still kick.
That kick was nailed there, drove through the ball. He wasn't tentative at all with that kick. And that's what it means to the crowd here.
So against 14 men, Saracens are behind. Charlie Hodgson with the restart, taken by Tommy Bowe, back to full fitness now he feels after his groin injury. And they get another penalty. Not releasing the tackle player this time.
And when you lose your 15, your full back, you put so much pressure on the wings to cover those gaps. There are huge gaps in the backfield. You put so much pressure on the wings and your half-backs to cover those areas. There are big areas out there full back normally covers.
Tommy Bowe, 24 Heineken Cup tries. Set against Cardiff last week was the first time he's felt really in top shape after that injury. Andrew Trimble, Ulster played very poorly against Cardiff, but Andrew Trimble stood out in that game despite the defeat. That was a great kick, by the way, by Ruan Pienaar. He had a long way to go to the touchline. He made an awful lot of yardage. And here is Rob Herring now. Line-out simply has to function well for Ulster if they're to compete at all. And it's taken by Dan Toohey, and they've won another penalty. So the penalty count is racking up, and so is the aggression level.
A lot of intensity, a lot of emotion as well. Only danger is not going to overflow.
There's Steve Borthwick, as always, the peace envoy.
Yeah, it's a more form, okay? You come immediately from the side, you're offside, immediately you come from the side.
No one touched the ball though, okay. We didn't touch it.
But they're not too happy that they are racking up these penalties against them, Saracens, and Vunipola and Steve Borthwick there demanding an explanation from Jerome Garces.
That's 3 penalties already conceded by Ulster. Vunipola looks a little bit disgusted in our opinion. He comes in and he reckons he can follow that ball in because the rest of the pack haven't committed to that maul at all. He's first man in.
Nick Williams and Billy Vunipola, face to face. Well, there's a meeting of muscle. Not this time from Ruan Pienaar. He's got a very high percentage return in the Heineken Cup this season, but with only 14 men on the pitch, you feel they have to take every single opportunity against this Saracens team.
Well, you certainly can't question Ruan Pienaar's commitment to the cause of Ulster.
Charlie Hodgson with the restart, and here is Tommy Bowe to Paddy Jackson. Ulster are ahead on the possession statistics despite being down to 14 men, and there may be a chance on the outside. Nick Williams boulders his way through, just can't get the ball away, and here is Pienaar to Chris Henry, and then Pienaar knocks the ball forward, but the space did seem to open up on that far side for Ulster, and did they truly take advantage of it?
Yeah, well, a good high hanging kick from Paddy Jackson, good chase as well, as you expect. And under pressure, Andrew Trimble really puts pressure on Stretton there. The ball goes out wide. Nick Williams, did he have a man outside him? He dummied. The big paw comes out as well to fend off Charlie Hodgson. And he's looking for the offload. And this is Chris Henry's looking for the wraparound from Ruan Pienaar, but asking a man who's really struggling with one shoulder at this moment in time to react quickly to that ball. You're asking a lot of your scrum half.
The latest Ulster player down injured is Nick Williams, the former junior All Black, the Ireland Player of the Year last season. Nick Williams been struggling just a little bit to find his form this season.
Yeah, what Ulster want from Nick Williams is 100% for 50 minutes or so until they can bring Stephen Ferris. And can imagine the roar in this stadium was only Stephen Ferris on the field. But Ulster need 50 minutes or so out of Nick Williams.
Yeah, Stephen Ferris lying in wait back after 16 months out through injury, but of course he can add massive impetus off the bench for Ulster. Ulster perhaps have the stronger bench tonight.
And even more work because they're down one man even more work expected. That's a big scrum from Ulster.
Brilliantly played though by Billy Vunipola, coming off the back of that scrummage and making good ground for Saracens. But they're under a fair bit of pressure here, the North Londoners, from this Ulster side, as Wigglesworth puts up the kick. In comes Tommy Bowe, and rather unlike Tommy Bowe to knock that on. He's normally very, very safe and secure under the high ball. All that experience, all that Gaelic football background as well.
That's a great work from Vunipola to the back there. He makes so many good yards after the tackle as well. He keeps those legs pumping. He's got a good work ethic about him on the field, Billy Vunipola. Puts himself around, turns over the ball, makes good tackles as well. And that's a big carry. 4 carries already in the game. And that's from a scrum that's really struggling, creaking at that point as well. Good yards on that blind side.
Well, you talked about getting a big 50 minutes from Nick Williams, and Saracens need a big 50 or 62 from Billy Vunipola. You imagine he will start to blow at that stage. He hasn't played since injuring his ankle in the Ireland game in the Six Nations, and again it was touch and go whether he'd be fit enough tonight to play.
Yeah, he has made a quicker than expected recovery from his ankle injury.
And the referee wants a reset there. This is the area where Ulster had the advantage in the quarter-final at Twickenham against Saracens last season, when Mako Vunipola was put under immense pressure by John Afoa. And Mako Vunipola in recent weeks has struggled against Kyle Sinclair and also against Jake Cooper-Woolley in league games.
Yeah, that was a better one from Saracens that time.
John Afoa is off to Gloucester next season. He should have a decent front row. Richard Hibbard is joining as well down at Kingsholm. John Afoa is bleeding quite profusely there, so Jerome Garces will want that attended to. And Ulster are struggling in the prop department for replacements. They have 4 props out injured: Callum Black, Declan Fitzpatrick, Paddy McAllister and Adam Macklin. So the replacement props are pretty unexperienced. No man for an expert opinion on the front row forward play than the former Lions Test Series winner Paul Wallace in our studio.
Yeah, Robbo, it's been a real fierce contest up front. That man John Afoa has been outstanding. His body position, dipping his hips, and funnily enough, it's both tight heads, James Johnson and Afoa, who have been dominating their loose head opponents. But it's got to go right to the 80 minutes. I think Rory Best going off has been a bit of an issue, but Herring has done very well since he's come on. I think Ulster are just about in the ascendancy, I think, thanks to John Afoa and his, just look at his positioning now when he hits, the way he dips his hips. Very few props in the world can do that.
It was interesting too that Saracens decided to pick James Johnson on the tight head instead of Matt Stevens today. Again, adding that tonnage, and look at the drive from Johnson there on the tight head side. That is immense. The arm is out from Garces. The penalty is coming Saracens' way. The inside ball to Chris Ashton. He scored a try against Ulster at Twickenham last season, and he celebrated then with the ash splash, and he celebrates this time too. And Saracens at last have fractured this Ulster defence, and it really was beautifully worked.
Excellent work on the back of a solid scrum. You got someone of the quality of Chris Ashton. We've seen Tommy Bowe picking those really good angles. Chris Ashton really trained nicely there. Made himself an option for the inside pass. That's the scrum, solid scrum, which allowed Wigglesworth an opportunity to get that ball away quickly, and then a beautiful inside pass to 2 players. Ruan Pina had a nibble towards Charlie Hodgson. That opened up the channel on the inside. Ashton trailed beautifully on the inside. Beautifully timed run, didn't pressurise the passer, held his depth, and well finished by Ashton.
Well, a great score by Saracens. Not sure the Ulster crowd appreciating the showman in Chris Ashton, but that is his 8th try in the Heineken Cup this season. He's only 1 short now of the all-time record held by this former Swansea player Matthew Robinson. And can Owen Farrell now add the extra 2 points? Missed his first effort. On that occasion it was a hook, and on this occasion It's another hook. So 2 in a row from Owen Farrell. Very, very unlike the England out half.
Oh, he just checked himself as well. He just checked his run to allow the opportunity for Hodgson to draw 2 players and just feed the inside. You have to push from the inside and push hard, but you cannot allow a gap of that side for a finisher of Chris Ashton's quality and a passer of Charlie Hodgson's ability.
Well, it was such a typically brilliant trailing run by Chris Ashton. Many times have we seen him do that on the colours of Saracens, Northampton and England, of course. Here is Hodgson, one of the finest exponents of out-half play in Premiership history is Charlie Hodgson, 33 years of age now. Owen Farrell moving into the inside centre position, where again he is pretty comfortable, Farrell there. Chris Wiles, remember, at fullback after the unfortunate departure in the 4th minute of Alex Good. The incident that led to the sending off of Jared Payne. Rob Herring, and it was difficult there for Dan Toohey. It wasn't quite accurate enough. Joe Schmidt again, one of his quotes is, "You need detail and delivery on nights like this." And there was neither detail or delivery there, but there was plenty here.
Well, that's off the referee's camera. He had a great shot at that angle from Ashton. But again, you saw the opening there. Too big an opening in the defence. And it's his only carry he's made, but it's quite an important one. 45 metres made, 5 points scored.
Well, that last Saracen scrummage was certainly a sight to behold. They really did get the squeeze on. This time it collapses, but Billy Vunipola, he has done some quite incredible work off the back of the scrummage. And as a result of that powerful work from the base, Saracens get another penalty.
Yeah, that's his 6th carry already in this game. He's making good yardage every time and causing problems on that blind side. He's attacked the blind side 2 or 3 times now. And making good yards. Immensely power, upper body strength. And again, he's got 6 on his back, but he's packing down at 8 on attacking balls. So they're using his power, his ball carrying ability, Saracens, and to great effect. And I think that's Alex Good, and great to see him back on the field. You know, he sat in the dugout, and you can see what he means to his teammates as well. That's good news for Alex Good.
Yeah, fantastic after such a sickening blow. Here is Wigglesworth to Charlie Hodgson, and now it's Farrell, and trying to make use of the extra man on the wide outside. But away goes Tommy Bowe. Back goes Charlie Hodgson along with Schalk Brits. Need the bounce here, Saracens. Brits gets the bounce, but put under pressure. All he can do is scurry across the touchline.
A terrific cover by Schalk Brits. That's when you want to hook up his sort of pace. That's a threat. It's again loose ball. Tommy Bowe is there. They'll pick it up. That's a poor pass, poor execution there. Kick down the field. I thought he might have kept that ball in hand and taken on Charlie Hodgson, but he put the kick through, and that's a poor pass to be that far behind David Strettle. Well, that's the chase. Schalk Brits did exceptionally well to get back there. This is a hooker who fought his way back to secure that ball.
Rob Herring, that's a better line out. Dan Toohey back after that arm he broke during the Six Nations. Takes the ball. It's Nick Williams in possession. Great roar around this new, fresh, extended Ravenhill. Brand new stadium, 18,000 capacity. And they need every single one of those 18,000 fans to help them with the cause here. Listen to that noise. It is ear-piercing. Trying to control them all. That's Pienaar. Oh, and Paddy Jackson took his eyes off the ball there. But the referee is coming back. There was a lovely moment on the bench a couple of seconds ago when Jared Payne walked over to shake the hand of Alex Good, just to make sure he was okay. Payne, who must be devastated to have been sent off. but showing that this game of rugby is all about gentlemen at the end of the day.
This is good work by Ulster. A drive is there. You cannot begin to estimate the effort this is taking from Ulster. One man down after 5 minutes, and they're there against a well-drilled outfit in Saracens. Huge effort from them to really keep in this game and keep driving and keep getting fuel in this crowd.
Well, pretty remarkably, despite playing 25 minutes with only 14 men, it's Ulster who are in the lead. This reminds me a little bit about a game earlier on this season when Saracens played Gloucester, and Nick Wood of Gloucester was sent off in the first minute, and it did take Saracens a long time to gain control of that game.
You do know, but eventually the toll will be taken, because so much energy has been expelled by Ulster to stay in this game, but they're showing total commitment. You cannot overestimate how much effort is going in to keep Ulster in this game. The physical effort is going.
Owen Farrell gets a little jeer. Chris Wiles, the American high, taken by Tommy Bowe. Great take in the air. He dropped his last high ball, but that was more like it from Bowe, and Pienaar, one of those rolling kicks of his into the arms of Hodgson.
Tommy Bowe is such a great exponent in the aerial game. He climbs really well. He's got great hang time and great awareness of what's around him. And this is Pienaar. Yeah, with that pass, and he's in so much discomfort there. And this is the kick, and he likes those sort of top spin kicks. Hits the top of the ball to make sure there's a roll forward. But Charlie Hodgson identified where the danger was and went back to fill that hole.
Close to being not straight, that throw, but Ulster win the line-out ball very efficiently there. Now trying to set an efficient ball as well, and Nick Williams is at the tail of it, driving that mighty white truck. And here is Pienaar to Jackson again. It's the kicking option. Ulster kicking a lot in this first half, but Chris Wiles very comfortable making the mark and taking the quick kick as well.
Good kick by Wiles, great kick. You can understand what Paddy Jackson was trying to do there, just a poor execution. He needed far more hang time. There was no opportunity there for the wing to get there to compete for the ball, and that gave too much time for Wiles under no pressure at all, and that's an outstanding kick back downfield. You can see Tommy Bowe there turning around at Paddy Jackson, said, I need more hang time. You need to be able to compete for that ball.
Herring this time to the tail. Muller had moved back. 34-year-old South African World Cup winner in 2007. Here's another World Cup winner, Ruan Pienaar. Again, just a little bit too much depth on that kick, making it easy for Billy Vunipola, and Chris Henry and Darren Cave have to work hard to bring down the behemoth. And now it is Brad Barrett checking inside. And I fancy Ulster always going to give away the penalty there. John Afoa on the ground.
Ulster have to be far more accurate to their kicks. They're allowing Vunipola, they're allowing Wiles so much time. Too much time to gather that ball, and no real pressure, which should allow them to bring that ball back and making good yards.
Well, you wonder how much longer Nick Williams is going to last. He's been shaking his head. He's been looking pretty uncomfortable, but for the moment he's going to keep going.
I understand. This is the charge from Berger, and that's Berger coming flying through there. And a clean out Muller, and again that's dangerous as well. I don't like that. He just come in leading with his shoulder, trying to clean people out. That's dangerous.
Well, that's why he's called face first Berger. He's maybe got the looks to prove it as well, Jacques. Taken by Borthwick, good taking the line out by Saracens. They've been brilliant in that department through the seasons, and they've been a good mauling side as well. 7 points clear at the top of the Premiership, really dominating in their home league and really dominating this maul. And it's very difficult to stop a maul like that legally. Here is Charlie Hodgson. Now it's Brad Barrett who steps. Ulster's midfield defence has to be sharp. There appear to be numbers beyond him there, Brad Barrett. And Ulster do well again in contact. Here is Pienaar, and he saw the space and cleared well for the men in white.
And there was an opportunity for hands there from Brad Barrett. He had an extra man advantage. You need to make those opportunities tell. Still have an over-eagerness to engage in contact. There it was. You could see Farrell is screaming for that ball. There was at least at least one man extra.
Yeah, they have plenty of personnel on this left-hand side of the pitch. Good ripping work in the tackle there by Paddy Jackson to win the ball back for Ulster. Again, that's a great line out. Ernst Hubert takes it now. Charlie Hodgson, Barrett on the wrapper. A great shuddering hit there by Andrew Trimble. He read the play brilliantly. Here comes Muller, and now Henry. And here is Darren Cave. Back there goes Wigglesworth. Luke Marshall has to play the fullback role, now vacated by the red-carded Jared Payne. Unfortunately for Ulster, that has rolled into the in-goal area.
That's a shuddering tackle by Trimble. Timed that perfectly. Sometimes with those wraparound passes, if you can figure out who's going to get the ball, you can pick him out. And that was too telegraphed and beautifully timed by Trimble. Stepped off the wing, read Ashton coming into that line, picked the man off. That was really good work. Trimble's another player. We talked about Henry earlier on. Trimble's certainly moved up a level this year under Joe Schmidt-Stewart coaching, really. And he's now saying he's having more homework than he's ever had to do in analysing opposition in his own game. And he's gained enormously from it.
Whistle has gone again for a penalty to Ulster. And there was some communication, I think, from the touch judge on this side, but Jerome Garces feels he has every option covered here, and the option now for Ulster is to go for the posts to extend their lead into half-time.
Oh, a heroic effort from Ulster, although there's no doubt. They've chased, they've harried, they've put some big hits in as well, and that's the high kick. And there's, you can see Barrett moving forward, and he's a good 10 yards ahead of Hodgson, and you're not allowed to move forward. You have to be seen still to be moving backwards. You can't go forward until someone...
Well, he's just about at the extent of his range here as Pienaar. If there is a breeze, it's probably at his back. Swirling around in Belfast this evening. 2 from 3 for Pienaar. This is going to take a mighty boot from Pienaar, and the distance was there, the accuracy not quite there. But Ulster still in front by a point as the half-time whistle approaches here at Ravenhill. Remember, Ulster playing with 14 men. Jared Payne sent off after 4 minutes. Here is Trimble, good take. Drives into Billy Vunipola.
He's had an excellent game, Vunipola, in his first half. He's carried, but that was another big hit on Trimble.
And again, the crowd on the far side are not too happy about the nature of that collision, but then they wouldn't be, because it's a home crowd in Belfast. You wouldn't expect anything else.
That was a far better kick. They would have put pressure on the Saracens' wing. Farrell coming in as well. That was better. You want hang time, you want to be able to compete for it. Well, that Marshall also jumped up in the air.
Yeah, two men competing for the ball. Luke Marshall, who's suffered in recent times with a series of concussions. Hopefully he's fully recovered from that episode in his rugby life.
Flexion. Growth. Bind.
Poor old Rory Best hobbling away towards the tunnel. Another penalty for Ulster at the scrum, and Mako Vunipola is penalised here, and this is most definitely within the range of Ruan Pienaar and could be the last act of this first half as the captain Muller points to the posts.
And what a half has been, full-blooded that he was expect. And some controversy as well. Ulster have done so well. As Wally touched, you see Vunipola's knee going down, being penalised. It's great work once again by John O'Foe.
20 seconds. Look at the clock here.
Beautiful kick from a consummate professional and a world-class player. He's nowhere near 100%.
I think you heard there the new enhanced Ravenhill roar. And that was the last act of this first half, the story of the half. The sending off of Jared Payne after 4 minutes, taking Alex Good out in the air. Then the departure of Alex Good on a stretcher. Ulster, a lot of territory, a lot of possession, but it was Saracens who responded with the only try of the half through Chris Ashton. How beautifully worked it was. But it's Ulster with 14 men on the pitch remarkably lead this Heineken Cup quarter-final at half-time.
An extraordinary first 40 minutes. The first thing to say is it is great to see Alex Good up and about and on his feet, and that is a relief for everybody, not least, I'm sure, Jared Payne. But thankfully, the Sarries fullback is all right, and that means we can concentrate fully on the rugby, and it has all been going on out there. I'm not sure Ulster dared fear as bad a first 5 minutes as they had. Jared Payne off, injuries to Rory Best, Ruan Pienaar and Nick Williams are both struggling. Sarries have taken advantage with a really well-worked try for Chris Ashton, but at the break, Ulster down a man, but up by 4. Full stops today to their European campaigns, I'm afraid, for Toulouse and for Leicester. Munster have absolutely ripped into the last 4. They have hammered the 4-time winners, Malala and Zebo, among their 6 try scorers. And Wesley Fofana with the only try for Claremont. My word, they had to hang on in there, though, as Leicester rallied late on. But unfortunately, just like last year, the Tigers have fallen agonisingly short, and they are out once again in the quarter-finals. It is well and truly alive here at Ravenhill, though. A disastrous start for the home side. Jared Payne red-carded after just 5 minutes. Alex Good looked in all sorts of bother. Thankfully, he is up and about. All sorts of injury problems for Ulster. But they lead. 3 Ruan Pienaar penalties to a Chris Ashton try. Extraordinary scenes, it has to be said. Best laid plans out the window early on. I mean, that was chaotic. Ulster done well to be in front.
They certainly have. You know, the first 5 minutes, when you look at the injuries and then, of course, that red card. For me, it was a yellow card, I think. But in any case, they've had to... Ruan Pienaar has been carrying injuries. Rory Best, their key leader on the pitch, he has to go off injured. And Nick Williams as well, carrying something. They've done very well to battle on with 14 men for 35 minutes.
Let's have a look at the incident itself. What he's saying, it's a yellow. Are you in agreement, Will? Or would you... Would you go further than that?
I don't think you can judge on the outcome of poor Alex Good getting it. It's the risk of what's about to happen. Okay, and I think Ian Evans nailed it absolutely. If you're the bloke arriving second, you have responsibility for the bloke who's going up for the ball to come down safely. With that, it was a profoundly reckless thing that took place without him, whether or not he was looking at the ball. He was arriving second with a man up in the air. There is that risk that you can seriously injure a player, and that is a precedent. And I think normally, if you go consistently around the world, that is normally a yellow. But I think you have to give credit to a referee who's seen the potential danger of what can happen from an event and is given the red.
I think for me it's a yellow, but you can see why it has become a red. Like Will is saying, there's a duty of care when you go up. And
do you think the injury has played a part in his decision?
It has played
and
a
is
part.
that right?
And that's how they judge some of these decisions. The first thing they look at it, the referee buys himself some time. Is the player injured? Good was injured. He had a big impact. Thankfully, he's back on his feet. But for me, my first instinct was yellow card. Of course, as I said, the referee has that discretion. You know, it is part of the law book that you can't tackle a player in the air.
Tackle in the air. It wasn't a tackle.
Yeah,
Payne is
looking at
carrying his eye on the ball the whole way through. You know, it's that intensity. And that's the whole 5 minutes. It was all about intensity. Both players were there. The only difference was Payne didn't get off his feet. But you can see he tracked the ball with his eyes. Yes, it's reckless, but if he's in the air, it would have been the other way around maybe.
The debate will continue. I'm sure that is safe to say. Let's have a look at the try. And it's interesting how just Sarries picked on Ulster's defensive realignment.
And so Ulster have done really well at the back end of that first half. And for me, I don't think it's about their legs. I think this crowd will drag them home for 40 minutes. It's about them thinking at the right time about how they should position their backline. So what they did, they went with an 7-man scrum, Wally, which I know you're never happy about. They dropped Chris Henry in on there to play as the fly half. Then as you roll it on slowly, here, we're going to remove that. To remove it, Saracens get a left-hand shoulder on the scrum, which takes the open side flanker away from what's going on. Okay, so then as you move it on, Ruben Pienaar makes an error. Ruben Pienaar here now completely over chases and holds the inside, opens the hole up for Ashton to go through. So we've now got no open side. Pienaar over chases. Ashton takes it beautifully in and away, and Marshall, who's not a left winger, who found himself on a left winger because of the rejig. So it's a superbly taken try. Ulster can still win this game with 14 men. However, they'll need to think extremely carefully about their setups at every defensive formation.
Massive credit to Saracens for their execution there, identifying that, getting the angle in the scrum, as you say, Will. You know, you were talking about the scrums, Wally. Getting that angle up. Yeah. Roger Wilson can't break off the scrum, and Pienaar then overcompensates. He doesn't have anyone behind him. Great execution by Saracens.
Yeah, we could have spoken about that first half for a lot longer, but we've got to get set because the second 40 is just a couple of minutes away. Sarries have got the numerical advantage. They've got the benefit of the conditions in the second 40 as well, but this Ulster side are producing something very special. They need to do it all over again if they are to take their place in this year's semi-finals for the difference, and it's the 14 men of Ulster with their noses in front. I think it's safe to say we have got the Masters covered for you this year. We will start on Monday. We've got a whole load of action to get you up and running. But just to let you know, the main coverage starts Thursday, 7 o'clock. Sky Sports 4. Jack Nicholas is our special guest throughout the course of this year's tournament. A real treat for all golf fans. And as I said, Monday on the range, special show for you on the interactive service from 5. We'll have a look at Faldo's triumph in '89 from 7 on 4. A special show for you on Sky Sports News at 7:30 as we count down to the live event. And of course, the par 3 is on Wednesday at 7. One of the highlights of the year for those of you who enjoy your golf. Today is one of the highlights of the year for those of you who enjoy your club rugby. Twists and turns are plenty throughout the course of the day. Where on earth are we going in the final 40 minutes of the day? Let's hand you back to Jan and Mark to take you home.
Well, it's one of the most trucked out stats in the Heineken Cup that no side has won all 6 of their pool games and gone on to lift the trophy. That's the HECs facing Ulster. And now they have further devilishly difficult questions to answer in the unforgiving knockout stages, with 14 men on the pitch for the next 40 minutes. But the crowd have been immense in that first half and have really helped drive Ulster into this lead.
The crowd have been immense, and of that is no doubt. And they are the 15th man now rather than the 16th man.
Owen Farrell with the restart, and Tommy Bowe, who's played a fair bit of rugby at fullback, takes the ball for Ulster, and Pienaar, who has lasted a lot longer than we possibly thought when he was grasping his shoulder after the first few minutes of this game. Charlie Hodgson is wrapped up. And again, Ulster come crushing into the breakdown and win the penalty. Immense commitment yet again. And Pienaar is away quickly with the penalty to get it as near to the corner as he can.
High hanging kick there. You see Charlie Hodgson, you've got to make an effort to get back on your feet. You can't just roll around in the floor and try and avoid the opposition from stealing the ball off you. Again, you can see that wave of white jerseys coming towards him, and he keeps rolling, keeps moving around. And he can't do that. But that's Ruan Pienaar, not 100%, but always alert to the opportunity to drive that ball down into Saracens territory.
Well, Ulster came into that breakdown with an almost inhuman frenzy, and here is Muller, the captain, and they will need their skipper in this second half if they're to hang on to this lead, and they form the drive, inching their way into the Saracens 22. Nick Williams is at the tail. It's inch by inch stuff from Ulster. Moritz Botha flops to the ground underneath that maul. It's Pienaar to Luke Marshall, runs into big trouble. Williams tries to clear out, helped by John Afoa, and now it's Pienaar. Here's Chris Henry. Tremendous in the breakdown in the Six Nations. Here is Pienaar again. Now it's Dan Toohey. Saracens' defence is famed. If you saw the Bath game in the Premiership a few weeks back, the boa constrictor was on show on that occasion. Bath simply couldn't breathe. Here is Pienaar looking to add oxygen to this Ulster attack.
Orchestrating really well. Again, the pack are doing the hard work. They provide him a bit of a platform. They're working really hard and securing decent ball. And he's looking for an opening, but again, they're one man short, so they run a short, especially Jared Payne, who would normally pick those nice angles off the scrum half. And Johan Muller really has leading by example. Keeping the pressure on Saracens. They want to play the game in Saracens territory.
Brits. Good line out, good take by Joubert, and away by the English international Richard Wigglesworth. Played in the World Cup 3 years back for England, so experience all through both ranks here.
Who's that left foot really well, got great distance, good ball won by Joubert. Such a good line out option for Saracens, good quality ball. And
well, so many players on both sides who have played in cold-run atmospheres and massive games of rugby, but who ultimately is going to have the composure here in this Heineken Cup quarter-final? Carrying to Muller again, and here is Pienaar for Paddy Jackson, launching the bomb. There's a lot of hang time on that one. Gives Ulster the opportunity. And here is Moritz Botha in the right place to gather the ball. Now it's Farrell. Paddy Jackson had to cover a lot of ground there as a fill-in fullback, and of course that's the problem when you're down your 15.
You just haven't got enough numbers to cover those spaces. Farrell identified where the gap was. Well executed kick. Again, Saracens a little bit fortunate to secure with this ball. His ball bounced back. Moritz Botha tracking back, managed to win it. The ball was tapped back by Trimble really well, but it fell into a Saracen hand. And again, Farrell lifted his head up, identified where the gap was, and drilled this kick.
Ulster taking plenty of time to form the line out. They know that over the course of the 40 minutes, every second they could pinch could be crucial towards the end. Great take again by Johan Muller. And it's Nick Williams wrestling away, using that bolt to effect. Pienaar sets himself for the clearance, but he hasn't found touch, and it's knocked on by Vunipola. So an Ulster advantage here. Muller fires it wide, the intercept coming in from Barrett, but they will come back for the advantage to Ulster here.
Yeah, good hanging kick. Once again, Muller winning. Good quality ball there. Again, Botha try and disrupt that ball. High hanging kick. Muller had it, couldn't quite hold onto it. Took his eyes off the ball momentarily. Saw Marshall coming towards him. Again, tireless work by Ulster.
20 stone 70 is Billy Vunipola. Saracens twice semi-finalists, looking for a third. 2008 they lost narrowly to Munster, and last season when they lost to Toulon, all 24 points in a 24-12 defeat from Johnny Wilkinson. It's a penalty advantage here for Ulster as the scrum goes down. And up goes Andrew Trimble, and he wasn't that far away from gathering the ball. Great work by Tommy Bowe to get across from this side of the pitch.
Wow, beautifully measured kick by Ruan Pina. That was pinpoint. Allowed Trimble to go compete for it. And I also knew there was a penalty coming, and so it was a kick for nothing. And when you haven't got the penalty, just trying to take advantage once again. That's the scrum going really well.
He's penalised James Johnson there for pulling down on the tight head side for Saracens. Where's that going to land? In play. It's Chris Ashton to clear. Nick Williams, oh, and he misjudged the flight of that. It was his ball. And here is Tommy Bowe. Again, utilising all those skills he's picked up, playing across the back line for Ulster, Ireland, and the Ospreys.
Yeah, this is a kick from Ruan Pina. Did this touch the line? Oh! No, just, yeah, didn't touch the line. That's the right decision by the official. That was close.
Well, no patience for James Johnson having given away that penalty, because he's immediately been replaced by Matt Stevens. Matt Stevens, twice a Lion, 2 World Cups, and you know, both benches are very strong, and to be able to bring on a player of the experience of Matt Stevens, well, it's a fillip for Saracens as Brits finds Bota. And now here's Wigglesworth for Farrell now, and Billy Vunipola thunders it up in the middle of the park. Richard Wigglesworth, here's Farrell again. Fires it out to Scott Brits. He's tremendous in open play. He's got a sidestep like Shane Williams, and he's got away from several defenders. Now they are on the front foot here are Saracens. Wigglesworth, remember Ulster, down to 14 men, and they should take advantage of it now. On the outside, here's Joubert. Tremendous cover tackling. The scramble from Ulster was immense, but here goes Vunipola. They're a couple of metres short, and there are so many players on this outside channel. But again, Ulster taking the risk, firing up out of the line to cut down the options for Saracens. But there may be more options coming their way. And it's Moritz Bota who rumbles across the line, and there was that feeling of inevitability there. The exhaustion in the Ulster ranks, trying to defend with a man down.
And that extra man really took its toll eventually on a desperate Ulster defence. They were scrambling across from one side of the field to the next. One of the key aspects, Vunipola was in evidence a couple of times, but they were stretching this defence, always finding that space on the outside. The great stepping ability of Scott Brits, you have to make that tackle. Tom Court had to make that tackle to stop Scott Brits at that moment. Again, held the depth. It's all about holding your depth, finding the extra man, not panicking, not being too greedy, and just going through the phases. And eventually, that extra man was able to score out wide. Just beat the outstretched hand of Tommy Bowe.
It really was an exceptionally well-delivered pass. Well, he lasted as long as he could. He showed great bravery and courage, did Pienaar. Perhaps he wasn't fit to start at all, but he wrestled his way through 49 minutes. And he's sitting beside Rory Best, and 2 of Ulster's talisman now have departed. Well, Ulster have been kept in this game to a certain extent by the erratic kicking of Owen Farrell, normally so assured off that kicking tee.
Yeah, Ruan Pina, a huge effort for Ruan Pina. That's it. I mean, anywhere near 100% fit. But that missed opportunity from Owen Farrell really keeps Ulster in this game. 1 point in it still. It's unbelievable to think they've been playing with 14 men since the 5th minute of the game.
10 carries now for Billy Vunipola. And for a man who hasn't played for 6 or 7 weeks, he's done incredibly well as the big Saracens number 6 to make such an impact on this game. And in comes Jack Berger. He makes an impact on every game as he tackles Tommy Bowe. Paul Marshall is on for Pienaar. Paddy Jackson again. That's a well-judged kick from Paddy Jackson. Chris Wiles comes in and picks up, and there is Jackson. Much lower trajectory this time and finds it round a touch, but Saracens were keen to go quickly there, but Jerome Garces says the ball has come off a hand, I think.
Touched in flight. He says he was touched in flight, I think. It wasn't about the quick throw. It was a hockey kick.
The black touch the ball.
Came off a Saracen's hand.
Well, what do Ulster do now in terms of their bench? They have tremendous power to bring on in the form of Stephen Ferris and Ian Henderson. The options are there. Here is Nick Williams. He's the battering ram option in the middle of that park for Ulster. Here is Paddy Jackson. They love the inside ball to Ulster. They utilise that over and over again. Here is Marshall once more. Finds Chris Henry. Here's Tommy Bowe coming in the line, and Tommy Bowe half through, found his way, slithering through the gap. Tommy Bowe there, taken on by Roger Wilson. Played in the Heineken Cup final for Northampton against Leicester. Marshall once more for Nick Williams, and that was the perfect example of man and ball, and Williams did well to stay on his feet. Here's Trimble. Arm out from Garces. A penalty advantage to Ulster here. In goes Marshall. Good press defence by Saracens. Their line speed, as always, is impressive.
Tommy Bowe is getting through a huge shift of work at this moment in time. And there's 2 of them on the field.
Here is Paddy Jackson once more. The advantage is over as Darren Cave. Was he tackled around the neck there? The crowd thinks so. Again, the arm is out from Jerome Garces as Paddy Jackson goes for the drop of goal. And Paddy Jackson was having a free pot there. And I think it might have been Billy Vunipola whose arm was high.
Billy Vunipola has put a lot of work in today as well, defensively. And what's really impressing me, Ulster's ball retention is really good at this moment in time. They might be tired, they keep holding on to the ball, and even be confronted with a very aggressive Saracens defence and manage to go through the phases. And that's the high tackle from Vunipola.
It's actually one of the very impressive things under the new reign of Joe Schmidt with Ireland is the way Ireland control the possession of the ball, and it seems to have drifted down to Ulster tonight, the way they're hanging on to the pill. And if they've any chance of hanging on to victory here, well, you feel Paddy Jackson taking over from Ruan Pienaar must nail chances like this. Oh, so close from Jackson. It's not mopped up yet, and it is now by Brad Barrett. Saracens had to stay focused there.
Brad Barrett very alert there. That ball could have bounced anywhere. And then the chase, the hunger was there to fall on that ball, but Barrett was very alert.
Well, you can feel the rumble around the stadium. And that means only one thing. The local folk hero, Ferris, is on.
Yeah, Nick Williams has worked really hard, given his all. His 55 minutes coming up, just about what they expected from him. And what this has also done is picked up the crowd once again, because Stephen Ferris is now on the field.
And they've made the error from the restart, Ulster, so the advantage here. And another knock on, a fumble on the outside, channeled by Steve Borthwick. Well, Stephen Ferris, the one-man punishment squad. You need thick oven gloves to keep a hold of this man. Out for 16 months. He's had 3 ankle operations, but he's had 100 minutes of rugby since he came back and is slowly regaining the match sharpness. And Ulster need An absolutely momentous 25 minutes from him.
It's going to take a momentous 25 minutes from the 14 players in the field, whoever they are in the white jersey, been outnumbered since the 5th minute. To be still in this game against such a quality side as Saracens. Sort of underestimated the effort gone into that. Astonishing. And there's still the atmosphere, the energy here in Ravenhill, the noise.
Well, Ulster have won their last 11 games at Ravenhill, but their last Heineken Cup defeat significantly was against these men, Saracens, at Twickenham last season. And Saracens, of course, they're the side who are trying to kick on in Europe. In 2012, they lost to Clermont and Watford, and after that, Mark McCall admitted they had work to do if they were to compete fully at this level. That was reinforced in the Toulon semi-final loss last season. The question is, can Mark McCall Saracens move on to that new level in Europe?
And that's the challenge, isn't it? Because everyone's moving forward, you have to move forward with them.
Stronger scrubbage, maybe Matt Stevens is making a difference there. Ulster try to get the wheel on, and it's illegal because it's a whip wheel, so that means a penalty to Saracens here. Ulster in the ascendancy in the scrums in the first half. James Johnson was penalised in the second, but maybe now we will see a little bit of a sea change in that department. And yet again, of course, we can refer to the authority in these matters, Paul Wallace.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate there. I thought Ulster had been under a bit of pressure. Matt Stevens had a good scrum, but on this one, you see there's a very good dip here by Ulster. Yes, they are walking a little bit around to the side, but the drive comes on. You know, if a team's going back like that, you should pull back on the far side, and that shows that it's clearly whipping around. For me, I think there's a drive there and a little bit of pull by both sides. It shouldn't have been a penalty for me.
In the words of the expert, Paul Wallace knows a thing or two about the mushroom growers in the front row. Here's Wigglesworth now. Nice Jacques Berger. Fires himself forward, and Wigglesworth fires the ball out to Owen Farrell. Here is grab Barrett, and that's a typical Ferris hit. That will help to lift the crowd here. Wigglesworth, Farrell, despite the fact that Charlie Hodgson is on the pitch, he is the first receiver in this second half. There's been a fumble in there, it's a knock forward, and it's going to be a scrummage to Ulster, and Stephen Ferris is becoming fully involved.
And there's no sign of the ferocity some of these hits are beating. If anything, it's picked up a level over the last couple of minutes since introduction of Stephen Ferris onto the field. Really huge hit by him on Barrett. Might with might. Big hit there. Again, the work of four. There's really a huge amount of work done by Alex Foa. He's scrummaging his heart out, yet he's still able to put the hits in. So much expected now of your front row forwards and your second row as well as pushing, as well as helping the line-out jumpers. You have to put the hits in, you have to carry the ball as well.
The Ulster male voice, choir and full voice, there are only 18,000 of them. And it goes from Marshall.
No, stay.
Chris Henry does well to keep the ball in. Roger Wilson has moved to number 8 now with Nick Williams off the field. Marshall, again, it's the tireless Tommy Bowe who chases that one. He's underneath it. And he almost managed to get his hands on it too. He has covered some turf.
Yeah, He is putting some work in today. He's chasing. And he's always times his run so well to jump for the ball. Again, terrific scrum. Good quality ball for Marshall at the back. Good control, terrific control at the back of that scrum. High hanging kick. And there goes Boat. Try and compete for it. You just got a feeling Saracens are going to be dragged into a game here, into an out. And really, they have an extra man. They're not making the use of that extra man.
Well, this happened a little bit against Toulouse. After the game, the defeat out in Toulouse, Mark McCall said, "We've been sucked in here to a game we did not want to get sucked into."
Yeah. And Ulster are feeding off the emotion. They're harrying, they're pressurising, they're diving in everything. And again, Saracens really take a step back here and just use Farrell's kicking game, Wigglesworth kicking in just to try and turn. And Ulster's had this going to be tiring at some point, because that huge effort they're putting in.
Well, there's plenty of muscular intent on the pitch now from the Ulster bench, because Ian Henderson has joined Ferris.
You looked at the game before the quality of the bench. Ulster have a terrific bench.
No. You must find a space. If what I said in the first half, if you open your shoulder, you find your space, okay?
Open your shoulder, says Jerome Garces. Makavunapol on the bench for all three tests on the Lions Tour, the victorious Lions Tour to Australia in the summer.
Okay, crouch, bind, set.
Into the final quarter. 2 tries for Saracens, clinging to that 1-point lead. Here is Farrell again, now Charlie Hodgson.
12!
And he puts in a driving kick into that Ulster 22. And who is it? It's Tommy Bull again. And here is Wigglesworth. Brad Barrett works hard to get behind Wigglesworth. Here again, the miraculous feat of Schalk Brits. Charlie Hodgson once more, one of the finest passers in the history of the Premiership. And Ulster and Trimble trying to hold their man up, but Saracens do well to get the ball to deck. Wigglesworth just delayed the pass, allowed the Ulster defence to get up as Stevens carries the ball into contact. Now it's Brad Barrett once more. Tom Court makes a tackle. And here goes Joubert, and he's hit by Henderson. Freshness in the Ulster ranks. Now it's Farrell. Hand comes in from Henry, and the referee is allowing play to go on as Luke Marshall chases the ball, and the officials were very, very slow there. The whistle was so late.
Yeah, I think there was a knock on there, but I don't think Jerome Garces has spotted it, and neither had his assistant referee on the touchline here.
Il tape volontairement le ballon.
Oui, c'est le blanc qui envoie le ballon en avant.
Ok, mêlée ou pénalité?
Non, pour moi c'est pénalité.
Ok.
Well, they've decided after all that it was a deliberate knock-on and a penalty to Saracens here. And just for a second or two, Ulster felt they were away there. They thought the officials had missed it all.
Well, I think they had initially. Perhaps it couldn't quite cure each other. But this is the change of direction from Farrell, looking to attack that wider channel. Whether or not he went to grab for it or not, but he certainly shoved the one hand out there. Yeah.
Chris Henry it was. Chris Henry is the sinner there. Now, Farrell has been in very poor form off the kicking tee. I wonder did the Saracens coaching ticket have any thoughts of bringing Charlie Hodgson to the party now? But Hodgson stands and observes. Not exactly Thomond Park silence for this kick at Ravenhill for Farrell, and he's missed another one! And another monstrous roar ripples across Ravenhill for a missed kick.
It's probably going to be time now for the captain to make a call and said, right, let's change a kicker, because these missed kicks are keeping Ulster in the game. And a challenge for Ulster, well, that knock-on, that deliberate knock-on from Chris Henry. They have to keep the press going. They're disrupting Saracens at this moment in time. They're getting any fluency in their game. But again, they keep coming.
Scott Britt's, his running has been sensational with ball in hand. How many defenders has Scott Britt's beaten on his own? Look at Chris Henry at the breakdown. He had his hands in there. He had to release. Now it's Farrell. Considered releasing to his right, but he's decided to take the ball into contact. Here is Joubert, releases the ball to Makavunapola. Dangerous times here again for Ulster. Richard Wigglesworth comes off. Billy Vunapola, it's gone backwards though. Borthwick. Captain Bath to the Amlin Challenge Cup win. So he has European success, and here is Barrett, and they may get some success here. Again through Chris Ashton, who reaches for the line. Have Ulster just managed to stop him getting there. Farrell fires it out, here's Vunapola, and here is Chris Wells. And Jerome Garces is on both knees in the own goal area, and somehow, almost impossibly, Ulster have held that up.
Well, whether he scored or not, Turner's defence is astonishing from Ulster this moment in time. Scrambling defence, some of the big hits all over the field. Players in red jerseys and in white jerseys dotted all over this pitch. Such the ferocity of some of the hits, such the desperate defence on both sides. But this is Brits at his best. Open field, using those feet of his to get past some Perez, and that's a huge hit. Trimble committed fully to that hit. Again, that's the offload once again. Vunapola the offload, the feet on the inside, terrific tackle on the gain line. Henderson there stopping, stretching, it's going to try, and again the defence on the blind side. Well, he felt the Saracens are bound to score once again. Darren Cavin there, turning his man over on the try line. Astonishing last-ditch defence by Ulster.
Well, Ulster, they are selling their souls for the cause tonight. Well, Andrew Trimble is off now as well. Injured, his work rate has been immense. But they are going to the video ref for the Chris Ashton attempt here. Where's the elbow? Where's the ball? Did he place it? Looks like he's held up short from that angle.
Yeah, but that for me is short. Again, what a tackle. Once again, Cave, who made that tackle, gets back on his feet and another one as well, but he's short. On that angle, he is short. But that was far better from Saracen. They're holding their depth, picking the space, and picking their angles.
Décision.
That can be short.
Rien de clair et évident.
Decision from Eric Cousin. And no try from Chris Ashton. He was short, as we suspected, and then held up.
Yeah, Trimble going off as well at that hit on Salt Britt.
And Ernst Joubert is off as well, injured. So Craig Gilroy, international replacement, comes on. And Kelly Brown will come on, the Scottish captain for Saracens.
Such the strength of squads at this part of the season, this part of the competition. You bring international players off the bench.
Wigglesworth feeds. It's at the feet of Billy Vunapola, and the referee will see that one reset.
No. You drive, both prop drive like this, and all the player drive like that.
There is pure exhaustion through those Ulster ranks. Remember, they have played with 14 men since the 4th minute.
I know, at this level of rugby, at this intensity, a remarkable effort by Ulster to be still in this game. But this is a great attacking position now for Saracens. And it's getting louder. The stadium's getting louder. You always worry when there's a new stadium. Yeah. They might lose the intensity of the old stadium, but they haven't. Astonishing noise levels here.
I don't want to see this. Okay? This, no. Fine.
Well, of course, there's more sizzling European action coming your way tomorrow with the final Heineken Cup quarter-final. Toulon, the champions, against Leinster from 4 o'clock on Sky Sports 3. But we've got our own sizzling quarter-final right here at Ravenhill right now as we enter the final 15 minutes. The delay, so normally a frustration in rugby union, the delay is in fact simply adding to the tension here.
I want to have a look, please.
And allows everybody obviously to draw breath.
Crouch. Bind. Set.
So Wigglesworth feeds the scrummage and Vunipola picks up and tries to wrestle his way away and does well. Vunipola makes those critical meters. And here is brother Mako rolling away from the first tackle and setting the ball back for Wigglesworth. Billy Vunipola wants it. It goes to Owen Farrell. He looks for Chris Ashton, and Chris Ashton scores. And despite their efforts in defence, despite the Herculean efforts in defence, maybe Ulster now are looking down the tunnel of a defeat. But the referee, Jerome Garces, wants to have a look at this for a potential offside.
Whether he was ahead of the kicker or not. A terrific kick by Farrell. So whether or not Chris Ashton was ahead of the kicker. Can't see from that angle. Difficult to tell from that angle.
Well, Ashton isn't in the picture there, is he? So it's really difficult to tell from those angles.
You cannot tell until you see. You need to see it when Farrell kicks the ball as to where Ashton is standing. You can't tell there.
Well, it looks like we may not have
Eric?
the angle that provides the proof.
Eric?
Oui, il n'y a aucun autre angle.
Pour moi, il y a ici.
Ok.
So the referee awards the try, and that is a critical try for Saracens. And now Ulster may indeed be staring into the abyss.
Well, probably the assistant referee was in the best position there to determine whether he was ahead of the kicker or not. But terrific composure by Farrell. That's what he needed from Saracens. An element of composure. Such the ferocity of the defence from Ulster throughout that. And once again, Vunipola, 2 or 3 yards after the tackle, pulls in defenders, creates the space out wide. And that's a great kick.
And at last, Owen Farrell finds his range. And Chris Ashton now, 9 tries he has in the Heineken Cup. He's equalled the all-time record of Matthew Robinson. He may well extend that, because Saracens now looking likely to move into the semi-finals. Can Ulster respond with their 14 men?
Well, that's a very significant gap now.
Back feet, guys.
8 points.
Wigglesworth, and taken again by Tommy Bowe. Massive work rate from Bowe. Here is Marshall, the replacement, Craig Gilroy. Gilroy sets for Marshall, and Paddy Jackson clears under pressure from Kelly Brown. Charlie Hodgson collects and then tries to push the ball in behind that Ulster defence, but it's Craig Gilroy who clears the ball away, and that points margin is very significant, of course, because it's 8 points. So Ulster need more than a converted try in this final 12 minutes.
You've seen far more from Saracens over the past 10-15 minutes of them kicking the ball behind, waiting for the right moment to keep the ball in hand and counter-attack, which is the type of game we've come to associate with Saracens over the last few seasons. You know, they wait for the right moment of counter-attack, but generally they put the ball behind. And when you minus a player, there are a lot of gaps out there and lots of space. And at the moment, Charlie Hodgson, Farrell are finding these gaps.
Robbie Dyack comes on for Ulster, and Neil de Kock, very experienced South African scrum half, is on for Saracens for his 200th Saracens appearance for the 35-year-old Springbok. Here is Brits, another Springbok, finds a South African-born but English international, Moritz Botha. Luke Marshall, Tommy Bowe again. Must be close to exhaustion, the Ulster winger.
Tommy Bowe's had an outstanding game this evening. Tireless, chasing, covering, and always looked dangerous with ball in hand.
Marshall, good weight on that kick. Kelly Brown was always struggling. Here's John Afoa. So there's going to be a penalty. Saracens player playing the ball after the knock forward. They're still in this, Ulster, if they can land this penalty.
Yeah, that's where Paddy Jackson feels this within his range. Rumpina probably has a little bit extra in terms of yardage, but he fancies his chances. That's what you want from a goal kicker. Yeah, that's the offside. Offside off his own man. Again, it's an opportunity to close that that gap of 8 points currently.
14-man Ulster, remember. Jared Payne sent off after 4 minutes as he attempted to go for the ball in the air with Alex Good, but still in this Heineken quarter-final if you feel this goes over. And that's exactly what it does.
Outstanding kick from Paddy Jackson. Under pressure, he knew how important it was for Ulster to score next. Ulster do come back and win this game, maybe. Thermopylae will have nothing on it.
Do you like the Heineken Cup? Do you like the Heineken Cup? I'm asking you.
How can you not enjoy a tournament like this?
Well, taken out in the air, so a penalty here for Ulster and a real chance here to make some big yardage down that far touchline. That's a big error by a professional like Moritz Botha to take a man out in the air when they needed composure from that restart.
And that's 2 errors in a row now. Moritz Botha has conceded. You compound one error with another one, and this is allowing Ulster back into the game. If there's any fingernails left, I'd be astonished. Whatever it is, they should be immensely proud of the effort their players have put in this evening.
Got to hit their men here, and they do, and it's well taken by Robbie Dyack. Paul Marshall now to Stephen Ferris. Paul Marshall to Luke Marshall. Again, he's well wrapped up by this barbed wire blanket that is the Saracens' defence. 3 tacklers there this time. Of course, 2 penalties will win this for Ulster. 2 drop goals will win this for Ulster. And Jerome Garces has his arm out again. Here is Paul Marshall. Ian Henderson is after this. Charlie Hodgson calls for the mark. But back they will come for the penalty kick. And now the pressure reverts again to Paddy Jackson.
Well, Saracens' indiscipline is really hurting them at this moment in time. And fueling this fight back from Ulster. It's 12 penalties. I think three penalties being conceded in the last 2 minutes. Drive once again. There's a new energy from the bench, and this is Marco Vunipola being penalised that time.
Well, again for Ulster, this has to be. And Paddy Jackson delivers again. And Ulster potentially are 1 kick away from victory with 14 men.
Unbelievable fight back from Ulster. What character, what heart has been shown by this team, driven on by this Ravenhill crowd.
I think the noise is going to create 18,000 migraines tomorrow morning. But the headache will ease for these Ulster men if the men in white can find the winning kick or the winning try from somewhere. Saracens, Billy Vunipola, what a game he's had. Here is Owen Farrell, now it's Charlie Hodgson. Charlie Hodgson, good, intelligent play by the veteran, deep into the heart of Ulster territory.
Nearly there, Robbo. Intelligent play, and that's what Paul Gustad, that's what Mark McCall will want from his side. Intelligence, not keep conceding penalties, play the territory. And that's what Steve Borthwick, the captain, will be urging his team on.
Taken by Ian Henderson. Nice and clean for Ulster. Closing in on the final 5 minutes, but they have a long way to go of Ulster. They're in their 22. Paul Marshall. And who is it yet again? He has been a titan for Saracens today, has Billy Vunipola. What a performance. Here is Farrell, and again, just pumping it into, Ulster territory. But that's not good from Farrell. It's going to go all the way. Is it rolling? Is it moving? And it is, I think. We're going to go all the way back. And it's another big error from Saracens, from one of their most experienced men.
Right idea, really poor execution. That just wasn't what he wanted at all. He's aiming for the corner, backed him off, he lifted his head, sliced off the side of the boot, and he put his hand up, apologised to his teammates. That's not what Saracens wanted. But look, listen to this crowd now. I think if a jumbo jet was thrown over, we wouldn't be able to hear it.
I feel it's rude to interrupt.
Stay.
Good strum by Ulster. And another penalty for Ulster. Now it's just inside their own half. They haven't got the range of Ruan Pienaar, but they can find the corner.
Yeah, it's probably just outside Paddy Jackson's range. I think he's going to go for the corner.
Well, he wasn't greedy, Paddy Jackson, and he definitely would have wanted a bit more yardage than that from that kick. There's a man who's been in situations like this, David Humphreys.
He's probably calmness personified on the outside, David Humphreys. He must be bubbling inside.
I remember David Humphreys dropped a couple of goals whenever Ulster beat Toulouse here in the quarters all those years ago in the late 90s, but they've lost that line out. And that is a brilliant steal by Saracens. Moritz Boda at the tail. And that might, be a match winner, that steal. In the end, we shall see. Great work on the set piece. And here is Neil de Kock. Taken by Craig Gilroy. Scored the Irish try of the season in a Heineken Cup quarter-final against Munster a couple of years back. They could do with another one now. Paddy Jackson downfield. This is Charlie Hodgson. He's outside his 22 here, and it's, Tommy Bowe fails to collect, but it's gone backwards. Marshall. Here's Roger Wilson. Sets it for Marshall. Blind side is the option here with Ian Henderson.
Good feet by Ian Henderson then to beat the first hit.
Some crunching collisions now, as you would expect in a Heineken Cup quarter-final. Very fast off the line there was Jacques Berger. That's the way they defend. The spot blitzer flying out. Here's Henderson again. They're now within kicking range, so Saracens have to maintain their discipline now.
Great try there by Henry.
Taking the ball into the wider channels, which would make it slightly more difficult if the kick were to come. Here's a foul. The crowd are baying for a penalty for Ulster, baying for infringement at the contact area, baying for an offside from Saracens. And here's Tommy Bowe. Well, it would be very suitable if Tommy Bowe were to score the winning try. Here is Chris Henry. Now Paul Marshall again to Ian Henderson. Saracens are famed for their defence in a crisis, and it's got to remain solid now. Well done by Darren Cave, making those extra critical metres. Got to be careful not to get isolated in those positions. Ulster here and now, taken on by Tom Court. Marshall marshalling outside him. Here's Henderson once more. Got to roll away, Moritz Boda. And he's trying to. And here is Marshall again.
I think Hull's ball retention has been exceptional this evening.
Well, the noise is brain-splitting. Roger Wilson. 30 seconds to go. You feel that Ulster from somewhere have got to find a penalty, or somewhere be able to orchestrate themselves into the field position for a drop-and goal. And at the moment, they're quite a long way out. Here is Jackson. This is reminiscent of Munster against Northampton a few years ago, when Munster went through about 40 phases before Ronan O'Gara dropped the goal, but that was in a pool game. This is at a higher level entirely, a Heineken Cup quarter-final.
And there's also 15 men against 15 men. This is 14 men holding on to this ball.
Here's Paddy Jackson, taken by Darren Cave. Good little move by Ulster there. That worked well. Good handling under so much pressure. Final play of the game. Here is Tommy Bowe. Very good tackle by Chris Wiles. Here is Ian Henderson. Rumbles into Billy Vunipola. Vunipola brings him down. Now Paddy Jackson for Tommy Bowe. Here is Gilroy, and now Jackson. Owen Farrell makes the tackle. He's got to roll away too. He does so. Now it's John Afoa. Matt Stevens makes the tackle this time.
You know, when you're drop goal territory yet, they're not making huge yardage. They're on the ball, but they're not making big yardage.
Well, Saracens are doing tremendously well to maintain their line integrity here and keep Ulster in the right place on the pitch. Here's Darren Cave.
Every bone, every muscle must be aching and screaming.
You've got to respect the Saracens' discipline so far. Here is Ferris. And it will be a penalty to Saracens. And it is the Wolfpack defence that wins the day in the end for the North Londoners. And Saracens progress to the semi-final in a heart-ripper of a game. The tension was sensational, but so much credit to Ulster, playing for 76 minutes with 14 men. What a game of rugby union this has been.
Well, Ulster should be very proud of the stadium they built here. But they're also immensely proud of an astonishing effort by their side. The elation, the relief on the faces of the Saracens players. Defensive discipline really ensured this. Ulster couldn't get into attacking range there. But what an effort that side. The bench really helped enormously coming off the bench for Ulster. And they lost their star players. Pienaar, Best weren't there at the end. Muller put a huge effort in. Again, we will keep talking about the red card for Jared Payne being a major and significant factor in the outcome of this game. But what an effort for Ulster. But Saracens move forward, and even with a petty lacklustre kicking display by Owen Farrell. They stayed out of defensive discipline. But some stand-up performances for me. Tommy Bowe was outstanding, as was John Afoa. But my Heineken man of the match is Billy Vunipola. His carrying ability, the yardage gained as well. Billy Vunipola is my Heineken man of the match. 13 carries him as well. But those Ulster men really were outstanding. Bowe was tireless. Nick Williams did his bit as well. Muller was outstanding.